Revelation 1611b. From the 14th of September 1940. Means of grace. Prayer and loving activity. And inner peace will be the sign that God is in him. But those who lack divine grace, because they neither desired nor received it when it was offered to them, find the path to ascent so arduous that they will never be able to cover it, for their strength is too small and they do not request strength from God even though it is at their disposal. They use none of the means of grace and their soul is weak and unable to ascend. And yet, God also lets the Sun of Grace shine on them by giving His word to people and instructing them through it to remember their soul. He gives them knowledge of the measure of grace to which every person is entitled. He wants them to pay attention and not to go through earthly life without warning. And thus divine grace also reaches the human being unconsciously and only wants to be grasped. And again, it is the human being's free will to grasp God's hand and accept the divine grace which is so lovingly offered to him, and, once he has partaken of this grace, to request it again and thereby receive strength to redeem himself during his earthly life. Thus his will is only necessary in order to be able to accomplish everything that is beneficial for his soul's salvation. His will has to look for God, his will has to submit itself to him, and his will has to consciously strive towards him and request the strength from God to do so. Then he establishes the connection with his Father of eternity. He wants to go to God. And this will is his salvation. And God always and everywhere accommodates him. He does not demand more from the human being than he is able to fulfill. He provides him with all means of assistance which make his ascent possible, and only requires the being not to behave in a rejecting manner but to gratefully accept the blessings which guarantee his ascent. But God does not force the human being's will, and therefore God's grace cannot be granted to it without the human being's will, otherwise the soul would be forced to ascend. Thus it would not desire to ascend in full freedom of will but would compulsorily cover this path to ascent. For divine grace is strength from God which demands to return to God again. Therefore, this strength can only be imparted to the being if it likewise desires God of its own free will. Therefore, free will is indispensable if the being wants to redeem itself from its last embodiment on earth. Amen.